Hello YouTube, and welcome back to W140 Restorations, where we're starting to work on Project Heidi. In this episode, we literally get under the hood of this beautiful SL500. We start working on the crankcase ventilation system and about 1,000 other things we need to do for Project Heidi. So, oil fill off, and I do like Liqui Moly products. We're going to use some engine flush, as we've done on our other M119 5-liter dual overhead cam Mercedes V8s. We're going to flush it out, let it run for a bit, follow the manufacturer's instructions for how long this sits in your engine. Hopefully it'll clear out, and we'll see if it's the oilers for the camshafts or something else in the top end. But oil needs to be changed no matter what. Based on all the documentation I have for Heidi, she's due. So let's go ahead and hop into that next. So I know it's going to be loud, and it's loud in the garage, but I wanted to show you there's a little bit of wobble on this V8, and there's some tick. I don't know if you all can hear it or not. It's coming from the driver's side bank. Okay, now that we've let the engine flush do its thing per the manufacturer's instructions, about 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to pull the dipstick, open up the engine oil fill, and let this bad boy cool off a little bit, and get to the oil filter, which is right down here on the oil filter housing, and then drain the oil and replace it with some Liqui Moly. While I was waiting, I was doing a little bit of observation. Really haven't torn into the engine compartment yet, but as with most of Mercedes this age, you can see that the fuel line needs to be replaced. We've got the tools, the equipment to do that, so we're going to be working on replacing the fuel lines to make sure that this thing is safe to drive, and then go ahead and check the fuel pressure with the fuel pressure regulator and the check valve here to make sure it's getting enough fuel to the rails, and check over the rest of the front of Heidi. Alright, while we're waiting for the oil to cool down, let's go ahead and take a look at the cabin filter. This compartment was full of leaves, so I've got a guess that the cabin filter is the same. It's going to be just as full. There's 3 clips on the front, a little bit different than on a W140. Just gotta pull up. Okay. Let's see what we got. Oh Lord, look at that. That's terrifying. Holy crap. Look how old that is. Oh man, I don't know if y'all can see that on camera. That is disgusting. I'll have to look for a date code. Woof. That is disgusting. Holy crap. You guys see that? It is black and purple of all things. Full of leaves. Alright. Just some required maintenance. Alright. Here's the correct filter for this engine, MAN H829 1X. with our new gasket. Alright. We'll get that in there. Push that down. Copper washer for the drain plug, and then O-ring for the cap. Let's get that on. And there's two. One on the bottom and one on the top. We're going to pull both of these off, clean it up, and then put it on. Make sure it's seated. And you will feel it bottom out. At least this one feels like it's bottomed out, and that is tight enough for me. I gotta tell y'all, the oil that I took out of this thing was red. The engine additive to clean it out was a yellow color, so I don't know where the red came from. If anybody out there knows what makes engine oil turn red, please let me know. Let me know. Okay, there she is, oil change, and she is still ticking and she's rocking. I gotta get the engine mount replaced. It's something I've noticed. Tensioner bearing sounds like it needs a little bit of love as well. And you can see her shake a little bit. One step at a time. All right, everybody. I've changed the oil in Heidi and put some liquid Moly in her. Put some Ceratec treatment in it as well. Drove her around the block. Got back and she's cooled down. I took all of the air cleaner assemblies off. They're really easy to take off. And I've already taken out the nuts that hold the covers on for the coil packs. And let's share with you all what's going on and what we're getting ready to get into with Project Heidi. Under the coil packs and the extended coil extender that goes on the top of the spark plug, there's a gasket. There's 4 gaskets on each bank, and those gaskets are shot. The reason I know that because you can see oil when you I took spark plug 1 out. I took out 1, 2, and 5, and there's just full of oil. So what has happened is the seal around the top of the aluminum valve cover for the dual overhead cam M119, they have failed. And when it's running and getting warm, it's allowing oil to seep down into the valleyway for the spark plug. So full of oil. In fact, back here on number 4, this was full of oil when I first got it. So here's what I'm about to do. I'm going to take off coils, coil retainers, the coil packs, spark plugs, and then take out all the hardware and start pulling the valve cover gasket off and valve cover gasket off for both the passenger side and the driver's side on Project Heidi. Just breaking them up. It's aluminum and steel together, so if there's any bimetal corrosion in there, just pop it on it a little bit, get it to loosen up. And the one for the ground strap is exactly the same as the one for the coil retainer, so don't need to worry about getting them mixed up. It's the same hardware. All the coil retainers are exactly the same. You may have seen these on the Project Iona video when I changed the coil and the spark plugs. Spark plugs, it's hilarious. These spark plugs, it's the same type of retainer. They're interchangeable. And gently, and I do mean very gently, pulling the ignition wires off of the coil plugs. You don't want to break these tabs off. Very gentle. And trying to get the coil wires off. Because they've been in here for, what, 27 years? So, nice and slow and steady. Pulling off the coil wires. And the whole thing just lifts up and sits out of the way. And I said there was a lot of oil. I'll show you. Sorry about that. There's a lot of oil that is sitting down in these valleyways. There's seeping oil. When I first got in here, I did clean it up a little bit. But you can see where there's been oil in here for quite some time. All right, I'm guessing it's gonna be just full of oil. Oh yeah, check that out. Right there. That is worth pulling this off the tripod and showing you. Look at that, check that out. That is nothing but oil that is filling up the cylinder way, because this, and I'll just set that nasty beast off, because this little seal right down in here has failed, and the oil, when the oilers are filling and putting oil on the cams, this is where the oil is coming out and then going straight down into the spark plug. So that is, you can barely see the head of the spark plug down there. When I take it out, well, I'm going to try to clean it out first, and then put the plugs back in. I don't want all that oil leaking down in to cylinder number 4. Let's just pull all of them. Wiggle, wiggle. Number 3, bone dry. I can see the bottom of the cylinder head. Should have gotten a flashlight. My bad. Number 2's got oil in it. And number 1, yeah, number 1's got oil in it too. So yeah, not good. That's what we're trying to fix. And yeah, that's odd. A little bit of milkshake color too. Not good. I'm glad we're getting into this. Let me do the other side. All right, with the corresponding 9 that come out for 2 for each coil and 1 for the ground, there are 9 that correspond around the side of, that one was loose, that's odd. There are 9 that correspond out on the outside of the head valve cover and valve cover gasket. Just kind of beat on them a little bit to get them to try and loosen up. Nice snappy noise. Is aluminum heads and these steel bolts, they are 5mm hex. I don't want to do anything to potentially strip them out at all. There's 1 and 2, a little bit of a cross pattern here to loosen these up. Make sure it's fully seated. You don't want to strip the head out either. Woo. Come on, baby. Now we're gonna come back to that one. That one scares me. Oh, there it goes. I was worried about that one. Really was. A little bit different than the ones that are on the retainers. Much longer with a washer on them, so don't want to get these mixed up. There are 3 on the top, 3 on the front, and 3 on the bottom. 9 total. Okay, and for the grand reveal, see it moving. There it is. Oh, let's see what we got here. Look at that, beautiful. Here, check it out. You can see where the back's starting to fail. And I'll clean this up and show y'all in a second, but it was time for these to come out. Oilers are intact. I don't see any scarring on any of the lobes. That one's got, the middle of it's got a little bit of scoring. I'll get a closer picture here in a second. Absolutely a work of art. See the cam stamped R. Both different, both stamped. The Oilers. And you see down in there all that crap. This one looks relatively clean. Relatively clean. And very clean. There's my timing belt. Timing chain. I can't believe I said that. Timing chain. Alright, number 8, dry. Number 7's dry. Maybe somebody was in. Number 6 is dry, and number 5. Okay, last thing. Vacuum line, driver's side, factory clip. Oh, okay, rotate that up and out of the way. Okay, off camera, I loosened up the hose. At least I thought it did. Yep, there it is. I loosened up the hose under the fuel rail, fuel pressure regulator, and take it out and show you all this. Everyone, if you see like cars for sale on Copart, any big auto auction that are burned to the ground, it's because people didn't change their fuel lines. It can be real dangerous real quick. You can see this one's rubbed, and it's time for it to go the wayside. I'm gonna probably build a new one after I get these ends cleaned up. But yeah, I have to take it off to make sure I can get this off. but I just wanted to show you all. It's important to check these on a regular basis, because it can be real dangerous real quick. So, okay, first impressions. I don't see anything horrendous at first blush. Let's look at the intake. Cam lobes look good. And on the exhaust, the cam looks good as well. Looking pretty good, I'll be honest. So, all right, let's go take a look at these valve covers. You'll be able to see as best as I can show you down in the head for first spark plug, second spark plug, third spark plug, and the fourth one. And if you all can't see, there's nothing but oil down in there. It corresponds with this gasket right here and this tube. This tube is part of the crankcase ventilation, and there's this long runner that runs through here. On the other side is the oil fill tube right here, and in this hole right here, down in there, I'm going to try not to touch my camshaft. They might look like they're dry. They're not. They're covered in oil. It's really hard for the camera to pick it up. I made sure they stay lubricated. In this hole right down here, where my finger is where the oil separator and funnel go. And I had to take them off camera. A lot of curse words for getting it out. Mine was broken, and I think that might lead to some of the issues that Heidi was having with all the oil in the top of the valve cover gasket. But let's quickly run to the table, and I'll show you all what the old one looks like taken out and what the new ones look like, and their part numbers. All right, sitting here at the table, I think you all can see the this oil funnel, and this oil funnel is rock hard. It has been in Heidi for 27 years, and it is hard as a rock. And when I was pulling the valve cover off and taking a look at the inside of the head assembly, I noticed it was broken, and to get this out, I used a pair of little forceps to try to pull it out, and unfortunately it broke on me. And what happened next was setting on a headlamp, a pair of small tweezers, and picking out every small piece that broke inside the head of Heidi. And I'm going to show you all what they look like and the part numbers as well. Tube looks like this, nice and soft and pliable, and the part number is 119 016 0181. There's only one. It is in the passenger side head. There is not one in the driver's side head. And then the oil separator and I'll show you this assembly right here. And its part number is 119 010 0062. And this sets down inside that recess in the head, and it's going to be really, really hard to see on camera. I don't know if y'all can see it or not, but there is a screen in the very bottom of this, and it shines orange. Let's see if I can show it or not. If you can see the light coming through there, I hope you guys can see that. But there is a little screen filter on the bottom, and this tube sits on that, and this whole assembly sits down in the head, catches the oil and the airy oil that is on the top of the valve cover gasket, catches it and sends it back down through, so raw oil doesn't come up through the positive crankcase ventilation system and then go back into your intake and start burning oil and making your V8 smoke. So this is a small piece, but a very important piece for the proper, I guess, crankcase ventilation in your Mercedes. And what I tried to do was I tried to make sure that I got all of the parts that correspond with these parts out of the head, because I didn't want any of this down in my valve train. So let's go ahead and put these two together and we'll put them back in Heidi. All right, this part is probably the easiest thing you're gonna do on a Mercedes. Literally, that's it. But this part sits down in a recess and it goes down in the bottom of the head. There is no screw. It is literally a pressure fit. So let's go ahead and hop up and we'll put this back in Heidi. Okay, she's in there. And after cylinder number 4, I just take your finger and apply pressure, and there she sits. All right, let's go ahead and change these valve cover gaskets and get that oil out of there, and change the spark plugs as well while we're in here. Okay, here's where I'm totally gonna nerd out on you all about engines and oil and what's happening and why that funnel, as small as it is, and the oil separator are so important. All right, so from Mercedes itself, I found this through like a lot of digs. So what's called entrained engine oil. So oil that has both air particles in it and oil particles in it. So a mix, almost like a foam. That entrained engine oil flows through the engine oil separation chamber, this bad boy right here, all along the top of the cylinder head, the right cylinder head only, the right cylinder head, into the oil separation chamber, this, in the right cylinder head cover, along the ventilation line, and into the intake manifold, and from there to the combustion chambers. Entrained engine oil flows through the oil separation chamber and the downstream siphon into the oil separator, which we just replaced, and into the right cylinder head. The oil separator then, with the rubber funnel, defoams that entrained engine oil. So as silly and simple and small as that piece is, what it effectively does is catches all the oil, which is foamy and frothy and in the top, and it catches it, sends it down this tube into the funnel. In the very, very bottom of the funnel, it turns it back into liquid oil instead of foamy oil and drops it back in to be sent all through the engine again. And that's why that little piece right there is important for your M119 V8. All right, open up the box, and the first things that I need out of the box are the valve cover gaskets. And in order to put the new ones on, pretty much pull the old ones off. See how much how much silicone or RTV or What other, oh, these are hard as a rock. I can see why they're leaking. And then put the new ones on. Oh, dear Lord. Yeah. Not too hard, but man, those are nice and hard. All right, get these off here. Get it cleaned up and get the new ones on. Yep. These are shot. Yeah, time to go. Get the new ones out. We'll put them on. I mean, for me, this is why, so pet peeve, I try not to put silicone, RTV, you know, things like that on my gaskets, because this stuff is just going to get just drawn into your engine. It's literally going to get sucked into it. And I haven't pulled the oil pan off of Heidi yet, but I'm guessing I'm going to find that she's got RTV and other types of adhesive and silicone in it that came out of the installation of these off cover gaskets. I'm going to clean them up best we can. Alright, I want you all to see this. This is all the silicone that was just inside the valve cover. You don't want that inside your oil pickup. You don't want that anywhere near your engine. So I don't use it. I would just top tip. I wouldn't. I wouldn't put it back on the valve cover with the valve cover gasket. There's a zip tie method. We'll see if these stay on there. Gravity is ever present, so you want to make sure that none of these things fall. Also, gloves are cheap, and so are yellow shop towels. So making sure that I got a new set of yellow rags and something for y'all to consider if you're doing this. Another just tip: valve covers and the valve cover gaskets are not the same. They are specific left right, so make sure that if you're doing this that you have the right gasket on the right valve cover. It's not like a small block Chevy where you can flip them back and forth. It does matter, so just be thinking about that when you're looking at parts to buy and repairs to make, that they're not the same, they're totally different. Oh, fantastic. I'm excited about this, people. I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna go around. It's just what I do. Try to stay off the cam lobes, but I'm gonna try to keep all the mating surfaces clean and dry. Starting with the ones on the bottom and then working my way to the top. Okay, double checking. Oil separator tube, oil separator tube funnel. My mounting surfaces are clean. All right, let's see if I can do this. It's lined up. Front's on, and I can feel the tube. All right, the oil separator tube, I can feel going over the runner for the positive crankcase ventilation. the 4 round gaskets on the inside feel seated. All right, she's down. Excellent. Okay, that's on. I've checked everything. It's aligned. There are 9 bolts that go back in here. 8 are the same size, and 1 is the long one. The Mercedes schematics say this is a 30 millimeter, but they're all 35. So 35 millimeter for everyone except for this top bolt. That top bolt is 45. It is the long one compared to all of them. So we're gonna put that in first. And each one of these torques to 9 Newton meters. There is no torque sequence that I could find in the Mercedes diagrams. So we're gonna go from inside out like you would on a head or a head gasket. Trying to make sure that these are torqued down appropriately, and we're not gonna get a bunch of oil leaks down into our cylinder wells for the spark plugs like we did on cylinder number 4. All right, start hand tightening these first. Make sure all the gaskets look good. Yep. All right. All right, torque specs, 9 Newton meters. Not a lot, everybody. There's 9. All right, we're done. All right, and now to take the spark plug out. I drained, actually kind of siphoned all the oil that I could out of cylinder number 4 because it was full of oil. And now the spark plug is very hard to turn, and it's got me worried. They should not be this tight. I'm be honest with you. Oh gosh. There it goes. Wow. That's not good. I I can't imagine what it was torqued to. It's coming out, thank goodness. Let's take a look and see what nightmare comes out of this cylinder. Oh, it didn't come out. All right, change these plugs. Okay, off camera, I replaced the spark plugs, and you can see going from right to left, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just amazing candidates for the trash can. Terrible, absolutely just awful looking spark plugs. Some are wet, some are dry, some look like there's a milkshake on them. One has rusty threads. Anyway, done with these. I put Bosch copper plugs back in it, and then also off camera, especially this is coil number 1. I labeled them when I took them off. I took the coil boot off, cleaned the inside to make sure the contacts were clean and dry, and snap, put them back together. Put these back in Heidi. I will tell you that number 1 was dry, number 4 was absolutely soaking wet of oil inside. Number 2 was also soaking wet. There was just full of oil between the coil itself and the boot. And 3 was pretty bad as well. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 back in there. And spark plugs are torqued to 28 Newton meters. You don't just go straight torque. I usually kind of loosely put them in, kind of with a tube and pull or a hose to easily put them in and pull them out. I actually use a piece of old windshield fluid pipe. It fits easy over the end of the spark plug. They're easy to go in and pull back out, and then tighten with a 5/8 hand, and then with a socket wrench, and then with a torque wrench. So 28 Newton meters and 1, 2, 3, 4 marked and back in. We're gonna button up the passenger side, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the driver's side. All right, everybody, replace the spark plugs off camera. Clipped in all the wiring harnesses to make sure they're clipped onto the coils. Installed the coils, the coil boot, the coil retainers, and the hardware. There's 8 bolts that hold these on, in addition to the ground. Cleaned off the ground and torqued each one of these to 9 Newton meters. Last thing to do on the passenger side head and valve cover is to put in the plastic vanity. I'm going to put those in, tie them down, torque them to 9 Newton meters as well, put in the air intakes, and button this back up and turn her on and see how she sounds. Well, everybody, we got everything buttoned up here on this episode of Project Heidi. I did the passenger side and then did the driver's side as well. Everything is torqued to spec and complete. New spark plugs, new valve cover gaskets, and I know that someone's going to ask me how come I didn't change the oilers. Plain and simple, I did not have the the timing chain guides. I forgot to order them, so of course I'm not going to change the oilers and pull those, because I'd have to do it twice. You can replace all the oilers except for the ones by the timing chain guide, so I'm just going to wait and do that in a future episode. It will happen. I still have a tick in Heidi, so more to follow on Project Heidi. Took off the mount bolt for the air intake, and off camera I went ahead and made a new fuel line. If you saw the earlier in my short, the fuel line in Heidi was ready to burn everything to the ground. So, and here is the driver's side, all back together and tied up nice and neat. More to come on this project. I scraped the hood, and we'll get to that in a different episode for the installation. But I mentioned there's a bunch of stuff that I bought for Heidi. I want to show you some future episodes in a box that have basically got a body mount for the passenger side, for the turn signal, 2 brand new turn signals, serpentine belt, 3rd brake light needs to go in, air intake tubes, the parking brake lever was broken. There are xenon headlights in here, the filters for the air intake another oil change. There's a bunch of stuff still down in there, a bunch of small parts. So more to follow on episode Heidi. You can see I'm going to spend some time working on her as well. So everyone, thank you very much for watching the channel. I love all the comments, and everyone, thank you very much for subscribing as well. And everyone, will see you again on the next episode of Project Heidi.